Everybody, happy Friday. If you're receiving this is my first attempt at this. I'm Chuck Dobler. I'm only sending this to about 145 of you that I've either taken an order from out of a newspaper or you worked with me from the website. Anyway, there's about 145 of you that are receiving this. There's one coin of each. So if you do decide you want it, either give me a call, text, or email and let me know so I can secure it for you. But every week I'm going to go through and pick out some hidden gems or some really nice coins that I found in our inventory. So I'm going to start off this week with a couple Morgans. Talk to some of you about green label, but not everybody. So I'm going to do just a quick overview on that. So the green label in itself is something NGC does. If you're familiar or heard about CAC stickers, those went on coins that had exceptional eye appeal for the grade. So, for instance, on the coin we're looking at here, this is an 1879S in mid-state 65. This particular coin got a green label. So when they do a green label, it's going to be based on eye appeal. Or in a 65 grade, this is a really, really good looking coin because when they do grade coins, surface defects and stuff count for the grading. But when you're looking at like toning, staining, bag marks and stuff, a lot of that doesn't take away from grading. So you can have a mid-state 65 coin that can look pretty beat up in the fields and stuff, which I'll get into that right now. Let's go into it. So this is a green label, 1879S, mid-state 65. These are the fields back here in the background behind the main image. Usually you got a little bag marks here, but a lot of times you're going to get a lot more bag marks in those areas. So this is a really nice coin because it doesn't have a lot of bag marks. The other thing you're going to see is marks on the high points, the chin and right below the eye. And up here, this thing is really, really nice. The reason I selected it personally was I love the toning of it. I love that kind of goldish, orangish color that goes around the outside of the coin. And then the reverse, it's even a little nicer because you get a little of the like deep green, blue, kind of purple hue that fades in. And it's just a really nicely toned coin. Now, 1879S is a pretty common date as far as what's been graded. So I'm going to try to go through this stuff with you guys so you understand it as well. So when you look at this coin in particular, they did mint 9,110,000 coins. It's a lot of coins. Now, again, remember, a lot of these were melted. Now, when you look at pops, these are the populations. So for mid-state 65 specifically, it's not all grades, it's specific to that grade. So on this one in particular, NGC is graded 25,162. Now, out of all those coins they've graded, when they see one with exceptional eye appeal or one that really stands out or it's really nice for 65, that's when they green label it. There's only 134 coins that exist in green label in mid-state 65. Now, PCGS is graded 29,000. So in the big picture, a lot of them out there in 65 is also a high grade for a Morgan, but only 134 in green label. And this coin is $369. Okay, I got another Morgan that I like the toning on. I kind of feel like this looks like it kind of just got dusted with copper almost, but this is a mid-state 66, also green label, 1882S from San Francisco. Now this particular coin, again, almost no marks in the fields at all, which is amazing. And it is a 66, right? It's a nice coin, but just overall, really great coin. It does kind of have that copper kind of stain / toning to it, which I think is pretty attractive. This coin is $569. Here's the reverse of the coin. Again, really nice. There's the S for San Francisco, just so you know where that's always located on the Morgans. And for this particular coin, quite a bit scarcer overall. You got mid-state 66, you got 9,250,000 that were minted. However, in green label, there's only 56 coins. And overall pops are quite a bit lower too. NGC's graded 7,178. PCGS is graded 5,785. So two really nice examples of Morgans, pretty good price points, I think. So I put those in here. Next, I'm going to talk about this a little bit, shipwreck coins. Those of you that I've talked to quite a few times, usually when you talk about a shipwreck coin, you're talking about a $20 Liberty, a gold piece, or a 1 ounce gold piece, or some form of gold, or a really rare, $5 Liberty date. They're always like $20,000 or more. So they're really expensive. This I thought was really neat. This is an 1835 capped dime, and this was on the SS Central America, which is a shipwreck that went down in 1857. Also, with this email, you're going to have this document, so you can go back and read some of this too. But what I find kind of neat about this, it's $1,039, but you're owning a piece of the shipwreck. You actually get a pinch of, I guess, gold dust basically in there from the ship as well. So you own something from that shipwreck, and a 10-cent piece like this would have been used to probably pay workers on the boat, or actually would have been used on the boat, where a lot of the other shipwreck coins were actually cargo that they were hauling, from one place to another. So unique piece. I could definitely get into a lot more details with you if you want to call me or ask questions. A lot of it is in here as well. I'm kind of trying to go through this a little fast so it doesn't take a ton of your time watching it all. I thought this one was really neat. Pretty rare piece. I'll get into the numbers in a minute, but the Palladium coins, they started, 2017 and 18. This is a 2022, but this is a reverse proof, which once I go through the coins, I'm going to cover finishes on coins for a second so you can stay on and watch that or turn it off, whatever you like. But this is reverse proof, 1 ounce Palladium piece. This is $2,559. As you can see, reverse proof. So when a proof coin, they usually mirror the background and then the image is frosted. When they do reverse proof coins, they frost the background and then they mirror the high points of the coin. So really, really unique coin, really nice. It is a 1 ounce coin. That is Wydell, what's his name? Wow, drew a blank there, sorry. Let's see. Yeah, Adolf Wyman. That's his initials on there, so you know what that is. And this is West Point because it was struck at West Point because it's a proof. Here's the back side of the coin. And to get into details, you can read about this, but both of these designs were actually his. Initially, obviously, the Mercury dime design is on the front. The other piece was actually on the American Institute of Architects gold medal in 1907 that he did. And they chose to use that, which is this, on the reverse of the coin. So really cool coin. Again, $2,559 for that one. I just want to point this out here for population so you understand. And what the mint's doing is they started in 2017. So they set a mintage limit, and then they'll have what they actually sold. So 2017, the first one came out, they did 15,000, they sold off 15,000. Bullion uncirculated is also known as mint state. Okay, so in 2018, they did the proof, almost 15,000. 2019, they did the very first reverse proof. Okay, 18,839, and that's what they sold. 2020, they did the mint state again, and then so they just go in a cycle. They do mint state, proof, reverse proof, right? So 2020, you got the mint state again. 21, you got the proof. Well, I guess 2 and 21, technically, they did actually a proof and a mint state coin. But then in 2022, which is the coin I just showed you, 7,433. So they've only done 2 reverse proofs so far, 2019 and then 2022, and this one is way less than half of the population. Now, that's not accounting for even the 70s. That's just how many they sold. I'll get that number if you when we talk later, if you're interested in that coin, but it's probably gonna be a pretty low number. I'd say if they sold 7,400, I'm guessing there's probably about 2,070 would be my guess. All right, next. So I talk about this a little bit with modern coins when I talk to people. I think in the modern series, it's a lot to try to collect the whole series. Some people do it, it's great. I prefer to kind of focus in on key dates in every series. So for the gold buffaloes, you really have 2006, the first year. 2008, they did the fractional set, which they've only done one time, never done it again. That was a 1 ounce, half, quarter, tenth in the buffalo design, which that's it. It's never been done again. That's an amazing one to have. Always highly desired by people. And then this one, the 2013, this was for the 100th anniversary. They did as a reverse proof. It's the only reverse proof buffalo. This is a proof 70, and it has the 100th anniversary on the label. It's also a first strike, and you can see on the back here as well. So the image is, again, the high point is the mirrored, and the background is frosted. So really neat coin as well. And here's something, when we were just talking about this a second ago, here's something to think about. 47,836 minted. There's only 3,710 70s with NGC. And there's only 3,776 with PCGS. So you're really talking about a pretty scarce coin in total numbers. So that one is there as well. All right, I'm trying to keep this under 10 minutes. So I'm going to cover just coin finishes. So when I'm going to try to do one of these each week, I'm going to try to show you 3 or 4 coins, tell you a little bit about them, and then maybe do a little education at the end. So if you're not familiar with all the different finishes, this is directly out of our welcome packet, which when you order from us, you receive this. And if you haven't looked at it or don't know, I'm just going to cover it quick. So you have mint state coins, or what they call uncirculated or bullion coins. They strike those once. That's going to be this coin here. Even finish, all the same across the board. Struck once, spit out. Okay. Next, you got burnish. Burnish coins. This is actually a process where they tumble the blank in a liquid and like ball bearings almost, or metal balls, and it kind of beats up or gives kind of an antique, kind of burnished finish to the blank, then they strike the coin. Burnished silver years are really cool because they're usually the smallest mintage of every year, every time. It's the least amount that they strike. There's a lot of good dates that a lot of collectors want. There's a lot of value in them because they're scarce. So burnished coins are neat. If you put them next to a mint state, you can tell, but you got to look pretty good. They're very similar when you see them in a holder. And in the holder, it will state burnished on there. Or what it'll say is mint state 70 with a W, because the burnished coins actually bear the W, so you can tell them apart from the mint state coins or the bullion coins. Okay, proof coins. It's kind of what I was just sharing on the Palladium piece, so this will probably make a little more sense now. So on a proof coin, which is not the greatest picture because I realized this isn't shiny, it must just be the angle, but on a proof coin, they actually strike them 5 to 7 times, and they polish the die in between striking. And what that does is that gives them this really mirrored look in the background, and then the frosted finish on the high points or the main key point of the coin, the Lady Liberty, for instance, or the Eagle. And that's a proof coin. They usually make less of them. That's more for collectors. They put a little more work into them, and they cost a little bit more. There's some that are very scarce and rare. Again, key dates in this series, there's quite a few too. You don't need to get every single Silver Eagle, but there's an enhanced proof from 2013. There's some years where they struck them in San Francisco, which they normally don't. There's some years where they struck them in Philly, which they normally don't. Since 2001, West Point has struck the proofs and all the mint state coins. So when you see like a 2019 S, for some reason, and I know the reason then, it was during the whole COVID mess, San Francisco didn't end up striking some. So there's exceptions, and those are really the key dates in the series. All right, next is reverse proof, which we just covered on the Palladium piece. Again, reverse proof, it's exactly the opposite of the proof. So your background is going to be frosted, and then Lady Liberty is going to be highly mirrored like she is here. So, all right, that's 13 minutes. I appreciate you taking the time. If you've hung out with me this long, I'm going to attach this document with the email so you can watch the video and you can go back and look through the facts. Again, I only have 1 coin of each of these. So, make sure if you do want it, you don't have to give me the payment right away, but at least email me or something and say, hey, I want that, reserve it, because that way I can attach it to an order and it takes it out of inventory. At any rate, if you haven't seen me before, here I am. I'm Chuck. Put a face to the voice, and I'll try to get one of these out weekly just to, kind of give you my picks and a little knowledge. So have a great weekend, and we'll talk soon. Bye now.